there definitely is a sequencing strategy, and some of it is individualized. Someone is in such terrible discomfort, we do have to do a little bit of symptom relief first. Certainly, going out and blasting and killing bugs when a person is so uncomfortable, so inflamed, it's just not going to be our starting point. So actually for me, I always start with the last page of the report when I'm supporting the client. So if they can't digest food, I'm getting the enzymes in there. If their immune system is burned out, their secretory IgA is very low, I'm supporting their gut immunity. I'm going to build that army so that if there are things I need to go out and kill, the immune system is actually going to help out in that killing process. And if they're highly inflamed, if their calprotectin's through the roof, again, I'm not going to start adding to the inflammation by killing a bunch of pro-inflammatory bugs. I'm going to calm down the inflammation first. So I actually start with the intestinal health markers section first before I even think about killing anything.
Okay.
And then there's a north to south progression. That's what we're taught from a holistic standpoint, where H. pylori is in the stomach. And the problem is H. pylori is notorious for suppressing stomach acid. And you can think of your hydrochloric acid or your stomach acid as your lead digestive domino. So if you don't have the good stomach acid, if H. pylori is neutralizing it, you may have a problem with bile secretion. You may have a problem with pancreatic enzyme secretion. So everything just goes to pot and doesn't work well. That's where if H. pylori is there, I go after that first in almost every case. Now, say someone just picked up Giardia. They just went swimming in a lake in Colorado. They got a mouthful of water and had Giardia in it, and they're
Mhm.
in the throes of acute explosive diarrhea and super sick, and their Giardia is off the charts high. Yeah, I'm probably going to treat the acute parasite first. But barring that, a lot of people, when we're doing the tests, we're dealing with people who have chronic infections. So then I'm trying to fix them. If I fix the upper GI first, get the H. pylori cleared out, it's just going to be a lot easier to get the bacteria to come in balance, the yeast, the parasites, because everything is just going to work better if we fix that stomach first.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, yeah, you're building up the resilience of the person. That's like the low hanging fruit in that sense. So that, yes, if we do go after something a little stronger, of course, a body that is more well off is going to be able to handle that better. They might experience less die off symptoms, or if they're really lucky, none at all. That's usually not the case, but sometimes that could happen. I got to pause for a second and say, too, because you know how stressed I was about my camera, my normal camera not working. It took me until right now to realize that you have the little poop emoji thing basically in real life in your background, and that is both adorable and hilarious. So you definitely walk the walk over there. Um,
I
by, by the
do.
way, as we get closer to the 30-minute mark, guys, we're not quite there yet, but always feel free to throw any questions that you have in the chat. It's pretty rare that we get someone exactly like Lisa on the show. So if you have any questions about the GI map or stool testing in general, please let us know in the chat. We'd love to see it. Something else that I was curious about, I'm more asking this not because I don't think FDNs know this, I think they do, but because some of them struggle with the wording to their clients. A lot of people, when they come to us, seem to have an issue comprehending how they got these gut bugs. So I'm talking totally from the layperson perspective. You probably know what I mean. I'm not saying like a dumb person, just an otherwise reasonably intelligent person that knows nothing about holistic health and then has something like psoriasis. They almost find it somewhat hard to believe when I'm like, oh yeah, you could have this, that, or next thing. And then we get the results back, and sure enough, they do have parasites and stuff. And they're like, wait, one, how did I get this? Two, how is this related to my skin issue? So, from my understanding, the way that I've always tried to explain it is that if we're under chronic stress, then one of the first things that goes in our body is our ability to digest stuff properly. We actually are going to have depleted stomach acid anyway. You mentioned that in relation to H. pylori infections, but frankly, if you're under chronic stress, you're going to have depleted stomach acid as well. And I've always looked at that as the simpler explanation that if we're running around under chronic stress, we're exposed to these pathogens anyway, and now you created an environment basically where they can make camp and take over. I feel like sometimes that's probably too simple of an explanation. Is there another way that you explain this to people in terms of like, why do so many people have these chronic infections? And then even more confusing is like, how do they relate to these conditions that many people would think are totally unrelated? Oh, my psoriasis might have something to do with a parasite that I have. That's incomprehensible to most people if they're not in this space. That's two questions in one, so I'll start with that first one. How do you help explain to the lay person how they could have accumulated chronic infections if their symptoms don't seem to have anything to do with what most people would assume are chronic infection symptoms, such as GI symptoms?
Yeah, and a lot of it comes back to vulnerability. So, like you said, stress is a major one. Who doesn't go through some period of stress? Whether you're a high schooler and you're preparing for your SAT, or you just have a big exam or something like that, or even happy stress, getting married, something like that, having a child. It's happy stress, but it's stress. And so, for the body, it can't always differentiate. Stress is stress. And so the stress will tend to lower your stomach acid. And stomach acid is like our first line of defense. So it's protecting us from the bacteria on the food, the parasites on the food. And you don't have to go to a third world country. We have parasites, E. coli, salmonella, norovirus. We see outbreaks of these all the time. I mean, there was just a huge outbreak on lettuce that actually killed some people with E. coli. So that's where having good stomach acid is so important, because if you swallow it, whether it's coming in the water you drink, so water, we also have to look at things like that. These bugs can be in your well water if it's unfiltered. Even some things like Giardia, Cryptosporidium, they're very chlorine resistant. So you could even have chlorinated city water and it could come through. But yeah, stomach acid, if you're drinking it in the water, you're eating it on the food, if you have low stomach acid, you can't kill it when you swallow it. So it's more likely there's going to be more making it through the stomach into the intestinal tract that could then cause an infection. Now, we also have secretory IgA. So, say it gets past the stomach. Secretory IgA is looking around for stuff and going, uh oh, that salmonella doesn't belong here. They're going to attack it, they're going to engulf it, and try to get it out of the body. Again, stress can cause low secretory IgA. Other things can cause, we need good beneficial bacteria like our butyrate producers to stimulate the production of SIG-A. We need vitamin A and D and zinc for secretory IgA. We even need zinc for stomach acid. So, how many people, it's nutritional deficiencies, it's stress, all these things. Your secretory IgA is low, making you vulnerable. Your stomach acid is low, making you vulnerable. And then, the like lettuce, there's so many little nooks and crevices in the lettuce leaves. These things can hide even if you're washing them. Or what I call the hairy berries, like a raspberry for me is like a hairy berry. It has all these little hairs versus like a blueberry is nice and smooth. So it's a lot easier to wash things off of a smooth berry than a hairy berry. And so these things that you ingest them. And so that's where we rely on the body's defenses. They have to be strong to protect us.